Hello, this is Veronica with Once Upon a Homeschooler. I'm here to do a video review of the 2-volume set, Balancing the Sword, but I'm only going to show you volume 2. Volume 1 is red, and it looks just about exactly the same as volume 2, except the questions are a little more basic and easier. Volume 2 goes a little more in depth, but both books will take you through the entire Bible. So if you do both, you'll go through it twice. Every chapter of the entire Bible. And you'll have discussion questions, study questions to help you understand it. It's very comprehensive. And it comes with a CD that will help you balance it. I've got it propped up here because there's a lot of glare on the cover. But it's a very simple book, black and white. Just going to take you through a few of the pages here so you can just get a quick glimpse in it. Both books are laid out to use the King James Version of the Bible, but you can actually use any version you prefer. We like the New International Version just because that's the way I grew up. Well, not really I wake up. The way I learned as an adult was better before I was able to decide for myself. I learned really young at about 18 or 19 that the New International Version was better, and I've just never found a reason not to use it, so I keep using it. But this one is set up with the King James Version, but it's also free to use your own version. Book 1 will take you through the entire Bible. Book 2 will take you through it again. Let's see, there are a lot of questions in this book, and they're mostly fill in the blank and discussion type questions. I like this guy because he's done a lot of research on it. I'm just going to show you this little passage here. He has tried to figure out a way to get one discussion question for about every 111 words so that all parts of the Bible are pretty equal. And he's also tried to give you one question per every 2.7 verses. They also did a lot of research into it to show you that the places where the same story is told over and over again, they don't give you the same questions. Each section has different questions on it. Every question, except for a few, have cross-references on it. There's a lot of cross-references on them. And I'll show you that as I get into the program a little bit more. And basically in the beginning here, there's a list of abbreviations in case you don't know what the words mean. I like this equivalency chart. This one here goes through the different translations and shows you what they call them. Some of them are not used in all the translations, or they're the same. But basically, for example, here you have a reed. And if you go to a different translation, it might be called a rod. And so they show you the different names of things and how they might be different in different Bible versions. They show you the different units of measurement, length, weight, volume. They show you the different types of coins and how much they're worth. And then basically it just starts right in, and it starts right up at chapter 1 of Genesis. And basically they ask you one question for every 2 to 3 verses. So you pretty much know that every so often you're going to get a discussion question, and there are several questions, or there's like 3 or 4 questions per chapter, just because that's how it's broken up. And it is, the questions are basic questions about what you see in the chapter, what you read about. And like I said, it does give you a chance to use your own words. Sometimes the questions might not line up exactly, but most of the time you can use any version because they're pretty standard. And then at the end of the question, each question, there is a list of references. Some of the references are really easy to see what they're talking about and how they're referencing it. So let's just run over chapter 1 really quick. What standard of quality did God see in all that he created? Of course, he saw everything was good, right? But Genesis 2:12, that basically was telling us about how the gold in the land was good. And Deuteronomy 32 and Job 38 were telling us about how God is good, and the Psalms were telling us about how the angels were singing and stuff like that. So everything recognizes that God creates good. And then you go on through the next question and keep going on, and you can do as many questions as you want per day, as much reading as you want per day. They suggest you read all of the references as you're going through, just to kind of get a feel for how the Bible keeps referring back to itself over and over again, and how everything, God pretty much cross-referenced the whole entire Bible for you. Some of the questions have a lot of references, some of them have a few. Not every reference is used in the book. They did not, I think they put a maximum of 10 references per question. So, and another thing I like about this is that it has artwork throughout. Here's a figure of Adam and Eve. I'm going to show you some more artwork. The pages, they have different artwork to show you what's going on. Here's some Egyptian musicians playing harps when they're talking about who is the father of who is the father of all musicians. Here is a chart of the lifespans in the life of the different Bible people, so you can see how they used to live longer and longer, and they kept getting shorter and shorter. Here's a picture, some of the mountains. And so as you can see, not only are they asking you the questions and having you think for yourself what are the answer, but they're giving you charts and pictures and illustrations and diagrams that help you to understand what you're reading. And then at the bottom of every page, there is, I gotta zoom in here, there's a quote. And this quote basically is by someone who believes strongly in God. I'm trying to zoom out just enough so you can still read the quote without zooming out so much that you can't see it. But each page has a quote about or by someone who believed in God. They might not have had the best life necessarily, but they all believed strongly in God, and they all had a foundation of God in their lives. And many of them are very famous Christians. Here are some more artworks. I'm just showing you some of the different things you'll see as you go along. And the questions are there for every book, every chapter, everything is here. I mean, if you want to go into, well, here's where we start Numbers. And as you can see, here's a chart of how they arranged all of the tribes and the armies. Here's a chart over here of the population of each of the tribes as they entered Canaan. And there's just different figures, different pictures, different questions, the list of festivals. And so they basically go through and they just have maps. I love this book because even though it's black and white, to keep the price down, it's not lacking in charts and information and just basically ways to help your child really connect with what they're reading in the Bible. And there's pictures throughout. They're just beautiful. It's just beautiful the way they tried so hard to carefully illustrate each part of the Bible. The one thing that you do need to watch out for is that does go over every verse in the Bible, so that goes over several verses that aren't quite as lovely or you don't want to share with younger children. So like I said, this is more for older children. You can do it as a family, have one person write down the answers. You can do it all together. You can pretty much however you want. Here's 2 Peter, here's 1 John, and even some of these little tiny books have a question or two. And then they have some more quotes on the bottom to relate to what you're reading about. And then they have all kinds of extra lines on there for you to take notes and kind of turn this into a journal. Every page has a space for notes. So you can pretty much go through here. And here's the book of Jude, the shortest book in the Bible, but they still have some questions on it. Jude and 3 John and all these books, these short books in the Bible, they all have questions. They all have something that you can learn from them. Here's James, another short book. And then here in the back, in case you do get stuck, they recommend not doing this unless you get stuck, but they have answers to every question. So back in Genesis 1, chapter 1, the question was, what does God say about his creation? Everything was good, very good. And list the answers for every single question. There's several pages of answers. And then behind that, they have they tell you a little bit about each of the people that they quoted, and they do give a disclaimer that they weren't all perfect people. They did sometimes do things that we don't approve of, but there is page after page of different people that were quoted in their lives and what they believed, how they lived, what they did for God, whether or not. Here's one for Mark Twain, and it clearly says here that he did not live a life that honored God or Christianity. But then there are people that did. But each one of these people carefully thought about God and carefully had something to contribute. And then here's the index, total index of the people that were quoted and in the order that they're quoted in. And then in the back here, there is a biography of the images. So you can see what the name of the image is, who did it. You can look them up online and see them more close up. and just a basic index. And that's pretty much it for book 2. And book 1 is exactly the same, except different questions, easier questions, and different pictures, different artwork, different charts, and basically the same thing. So I like to go through this. We just read a short question or two. We read the section from the Bible that it relates to, and then we look up the reference verses, and I write the answers down as a family. We don't do it one by one. So this book actually lasts us several years, because if we only do part of a chapter every day or 2 days, it takes us quite a while to get through the entire Bible. But I like how it's constantly bringing in other parts of the Bible, constantly illustrating, constantly explaining, without preaching to us, without telling us this is what you should believe, this is why you should believe it. It leaves it up to you to interpret it however you think is best for your family. So when you get to discussions on angels, you can discuss that the way you believe, and not the way that some other denomination that you don't agree with believes. So that's the beauty of it. It's really nice. It's really clear. It's really, and because it would be really nice if this was printed in full color with glossy pages, but I'm sure that would drive the cost sky high, because they are very thick books. You can just pretty much see as I page through here quick. You can just see that there's quite a few pages. And they all have pictures and charts and everything like that. So if you were to fully colorize this, I'm sure it would drive the cost sky high. But it's such a lovely book, because it's such a nice family study Bible without forcing you to study their way. So that's it for that. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.